Alright, good afternoon, everybody. This is the Dig and Deep podcast sponsored by Green Landscaping. So we hinted it back in some past videos that we were going to do a podcast, and this is our first go at it. So y'all be easy on us. I'm going to introduce. This is Quint Henniger. He's our VP and of Maintenance and Enhancements. You got Andrew Crawford. He's an account manager. Tyler Griffin, account manager, and me, Brian Kaiser, an account manager. Um, Today we're just going to discuss a few topics, kind of what we're doing in the industry right now, how things are going, um, kind of where we've been, um, and whatnot. So I'm gonna let uh, I'm gonna let Quint take it over from here. So
Yeah, well, there's lots of things going on right now, and I guess really the first question is, what exactly are we doing right now? What are we having the crews pay attention to? How do we juggle the beginning of growing season, all of that? And so obviously we had an early start to the season. We trickled in a few late frost, but nothing nearly as severe as what we ran into this time last year.
yeah,
Um, it doesn't look like it doesn't really look like we're going to have any more late frost or anything like that. So I think summer's here to stay. Um, Lots of things bloomed early this year. We're going to have that fall start to summer, and your you think your quince and your forsythia, your uh, all of your spirea, that kind of stuff, all were blooming super early this year. I mean, we're not even into the second full week of April. There, azaleas blooming everywhere.
They're in full bloom right now.
And it looks like middle of May is what it looks like outside. So, um, which is bizarre because you've got a lot of your trees and shrubs behaving like it's 30 days later than it is, and your turf still isn't out of dormancy fully. Uh, that's created issues for how we respond to what treatments that we're doing right now, what we already have done for the year, and then what we need to do as we pull the turf essentially out of dormancy. Um, but we have to be a little more gingerly with it. So some of the products we're using are tried and true. They continue to be pre-emergence and post-emergence, but um, as far as how do you how do you boost the turf out of dormancy without creating a lot of you know unhealthy habits to get the season going? So you know coming up with the right concoction, it feels like it's almost different nearly every year. You still have the same requirements, but you have to treat it a little different sometimes, depending on the season. Um, and then we've got flowers essentially right around the corner. So, I think we're poised to probably start planting flowers. What third to fourth week of April?
mm-hmm.
So, what are y'all planning on planting?
I mean, you got your standard impatient, um, Angeliana, um, Scaviola,
A lot of begonias.
yeah, geraniums.
Yeah, spring, you have a lot wider variety. Um, you know, for spring flowers, for me, a lot of my customers just, really like Vinca and Angelona.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more options out there. But, those are two options.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad our customers, love winter flowers, but if it were me, I wouldn't. I think it's kind of a laughing joke in the industry. Your your pansies don't start looking good until they get ready to be pulled. So
Yeah.
Snapdragons are in full bloom right when it's time to.
Foxglove look
Yeah.
great right now,
Yeah.
but then you may get another month, a few more months out of them, but
Mhm.
we played them in the winter, and they don't ever do good until it heats up.
Well, what kind of trends do you see out of requests from your customers on flowers? Is it, I know typically in like Mountain Brook, it's only white blooming, green tissue, white blooms, nothing else. Do you see that in other markets, other parts of town, or is that what everybody wants?
No, I mean it seems pretty isolated to the Mountain Brook area.
Yeah.
Why that is, there's a lot of white houses, and I don't. To me, you would want some contrast, but
Mm,
um, you know, I'm not a homeowner, but I don't know what it is, but they don't look bad. They look good planted. To me, I would just want a different color to give it contrast.
It's just more of a formal look.
Yeah.
Just having the green and
With the
white.
boxwoods everywhere.
But I would certainly like to mix in some pinks and some purples and things like that.
Antique colors. I've got a few customers that seem to really enjoy those. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd say we're pretty fortunate to where our customers just let us do as we please. I mean, they tell us what they like and what they don't like. Yeah, you've got some customers that want the same thing year in and year out, but, I mean, they pretty much let us design the bed, so to speak, and plant what we want,
Yeah.
which allows us to be, you know, use our skills, instead of just having our hands tied behind our back and being closed-minded, I guess. Like we get to use our artistic mindset and play around with things. So we're fortunate in that aspect, I think.
Yeah, I think you gain the trust after a few installations from your customers, and after that, they trust you to pick the right flowers and basically run the show pretty much. And if they do want a different color this year versus last year, they'll let you know that, but generally they just kind of let you run with it.
So where are you getting your flowers from?
We use a local grower, Barton. Carol's been not good to us, but I think she's been good to the whole Birmingham area for decades, I guess. She's probably been in business
not
before I was
not
born.
only good to us, but
Yeah.
Everybody.
To everyone in the Birmingham area. She's good. She's been good for the Birmingham area. And there's other local growers. Not to say they're bad by any means, because we get material from them all the time. But as far as bulk orders go, to me, she's got it made. Yeah, she runs the show.
Yeah, I was actually down there at her nursery yesterday picking up some herbs for a little project, and I just took a few minutes to kind of make a lap through the property, checking out all the greenhouses and stuff, and seeing all the tags where stuff's a few weeks old up to 11, 12 weeks old, and just the place is beautiful, but everything has its place. There's an order to all of it, and man, I tell you, there's something to be said for being able to go just tromp through somebody's property where they're preparing countless numbers of thousands of plants, and it's neat, it's orderly, and it's clean to a point to where you can actually see how that translates over into kind of the quality and the health of the plant too. There's nothing worse than going out to some place where somebody grows plant material and they want you to buy it, and you go out there and it looks like a jungle. Everything's unhealthy looking and
Weeds
you know,
all in the pods.
yeah, weeds all in the stock material. The pots are eat up with this, and every time you bump a group of plants, a bunch of bugs fly off of it, and it's just not something that you want to pick up, go buy, and go put in somebody's yard, And but yeah, just everything looked healthy, looked good, and the staff super great. So big shout out to her because
Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
fantastic. So and always has been extremely flexible and helpful to all of us. Um, but so talking about other things that are blooming right now. So what are we kind of in the midst of getting ready to prune? What's already been pruned? What needs to be pruned right now? What needs to wait on pruning?
I mean, really,
Go ahead.
really right now, I mean, you come out of winter, where everything's been dormant, nothing's been growing, and then seems like overnight everything just takes off. So you look around, there is, you got boxwoods and hollies and teals and everything that have put on, just a ton of new growth. So things like that can be pruned. Um, don't want to prune your azaleas right now as they're blooming. Um, so we'll kind of wait until those finish blooming to go in and prune those.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, your hedges, so to speak, that don't have flowers or blooms on them. I mean, I'd say it's safe to start pruning on if they have a significant amount of growth on them, which, I mean, people have started applying fertilizer, so they should start pushing out pretty heavily now.
And going from 40 degrees to 80 degrees consistent this early, they're pushing out.
Yeah, they're pushing hard, and that makes it hard too because you're still having these degree swings where it's in the high 50s in the morning. There's been a few mornings still where we're flirting the 30s and 40s, but by the afternoon it's 78, 79, 82 degrees. So having nearly a 40-degree swing over the course of like 11 hours is pretty significant still. So, um, but yeah, so I agree with you, Andrew. I mean, we give us a little bit more time, let the azaleas finish, and then we'll go in and start pocket pruning those. And um, obviously, we don't want to touch hydrangeas right now. There's lots of stuff that's putting on growth, and you know the stuff that's always blooming early, like we had talked about before, like your forsythia, your quince, your spirea, stuff like that. Go in and get in it right now because it's already bloomed. Now's a great time to get it cleaned up and shaped up for as it continues to grow through the season. But there's a lot of things kind of right on the cusp of bloom time or showy fruit time, what have you, and just making sure folks don't get in there and start hacking stuff back right now. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'd say a safe bet is, I don't know, right after it's pretty standard, right after it blooms.
yeah,
If you hadn't seen something bloom up to this point, you give it a minute.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like you said, the forsythia and all that, has obviously, you may still have some forsythia that are hanging on with blooms, but I hadn't seen it. So yeah, safe, better safe than sorry. If it's bloomed, you just have to prune it. If not, give it a minute and let it do its thing. But
well, typically come April 1 is when a lot of our clients that have weekly visitations during the growing season, that's when all that kicks off to weekly. So a lot of our customers would be possibly bi-weekly in the wintertime. And then come April 1, it's kind of like tax season for us. Everything's growing, everything's turning green, everything's in bloom. And we need, essentially close to twice as many guys as we have end of March. It's like we need to flip a switch. April 1, we need to have, you know, pretty doggone close to twice as many people on payroll. So how are you doing with that? are there struggles? How hard is it to find guys this time of year? Um, you know, what's the temperature out there? What's that like?
It's hot. I'd say I'm just now getting my feet underneath me. From the first week of April. You always know it's coming, but it's essentially something. It seems like you can never prepare for because there's so many uncertainties and just things that you can't control really. I mean, yeah, you can control who you hire and this and that, but you still got to get applicants in the door to be able to filter through those. Um,
And how is that going?
it's going. I mean, I think we need a few more guys, maybe one or two more guys to. But I think as far as bodies in trucks to fill these trucks and get them on the road and do what we need to, I think we're there. We always need a few floaters because
You good man?
yeah, it's inevitable that somebody misses work.
Yeah.
So
It's getting better than it has been in the past few years, though, for sure.
Great.
It's getting a lot easier.
Yeah, we're not having applicants come in the door, like pre-COVID levels, but we're not we're not having the same types of employment struggles that we were 2 years ago. And that, thank the Lord for that. But, yeah, we're probably looking at, a few dozen applicants a week now. That's probably pretty close to accurate. And that's, infinitely more than we saw in 21 and 22. So,
Yeah, we would get about maybe one application a week, if that,
yeah,
2 years ago.
yeah.
So, while not every guy filling out an application is high caliber, it's still something for us to look at, and
Better than nothing.
so it's definitely improved.
Are you seeing any trends of guys getting out of certain markets or industries to try to come into our market? Like I know you talked to a guy the other day that he's coming out of the coal mines looking for a job doing something above ground.
He just wants to be back above ground and have more of a normal set job instead of working underground 16 hours. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are looking for that home and life balance instead of all about just making as much as you can make. So hopefully that'll keep going on.
Yeah. Well, what's it like trying to get these guys persuaded to take a position? How much more are they looking for? The the scale has blown me away from like a wage increase standpoint since, let's say, 2017 to where we sit now. I mean, just the last 7 years, there's probably been at least a 40% increase in our labor cost, just direct cost of the job. And, I think it was last summer we saw a guy, and I know I've told this story to a bunch of people, but, last summer there was a guy at our local Publix. He was out there, had a smile on his face, and that joker was pushing buggies like his life depended on it. Doing a good job, had a good attitude about it. I pull up and ask the guy, like, hey, you want to come work for us? Just somebody's hustling, give him an opportunity. And he told me that I think he was 19 or 20 years old, and said that he wouldn't even entertain working for us unless we were starting the conversation at 23 an hour. Besides being able to push buggies proficiently, he had no other marketable skill.
Yeah, right.
Didn't even have a driver's license. Fella's 20 years old, and he didn't lose it. He just never got it. And it's like, man, either my expectation is horribly off, or, what is being required of, young folks kind of coming into the labor force has certainly changed.
I think a mix of both, maybe,
For sure.
Yeah.
to be honest. I mean, you you've been in the industry a lot. I say a lot longer than us, but you've just seen so many different things throughout the years, especially wages compared to when you started and now. Yeah, so I could see where, you know, it, it baffles you a little bit. I mean, it does me as well, because obviously we're the ones hiring these guys too, and it's like, crap, when I got in the industry, you know, $15, $16 was a lot of money then,
Oh, yeah.
per hour.
Yeah.
You thought you were living high on the hog then, but now these guys won't even think about it.
They just come in and expecting that, $19, $20 an hour and, don't have a license or no experience. And it's just like in their mind, they just expect that they should make that amount.
Yeah, it's like it just goes up $1 a year as we go on.
I don't know if it's just the labor industry, so to speak. I mean, obviously you're not going to go to McDonald's or Zaxby's, but I mean, we saw the local Zaxby's hiring last summer for what was it, $21 an hour?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you're getting full 40 hours a week, but
No,
a few years ago you had a degree making that type of money.
yeah, and like I get that we're not in 2004, 2005, wage ranges anymore. I remember hiring guys that would be like the new recruit, the no experience guy, and we were hiring them and putting them on a truck for minimum wage. They were making $7.25, get on the truck and learn how to do the job, and they were happy to take it. We had crew leaders with years of experience, could run everything on the truck and teach the new guy how to do it. And he's making $12.50, and that, so there's a $10 swing over the last, 20 years. And I don't know that that's necessarily unreasonable, but that's how much it has moved. And really, it moved really slowly to maybe 2018, 2019. And then, when everybody went home because of COVID, it's like the ones coming back now, they know they're needed.
Yeah.
And so, they did what any of us would do and, do their best to garnish as much as they can for what they're doing. So, but that's been pretty tough. And so that's required things to, everything has gone up. The price of everything has increased. Whether it's the gas we put in our truck, or it's the weed eater string we buy, or it's the repair at the mower shop, whatever it is. So it's unfortunately it always gets passed back to the customer. It's like for instance, so a buddy of mine sent me an application, something he found on Indeed for a company up in Madison, Alabama, that was putting it out there for essentially a crew leader, that the wages were between 32 and 37 an hour. And it's like, well, that's significantly more than what our market would probably bear from a day-to-day basis. And I don't know if that's a extremely specialized job that they're looking for, or if it's for, a very critical position. I don't know all the details behind how John Q Landscape Company could take and afford to pay somebody that, when you have people in managerial roles at other companies paying essentially that for a salaried position. So, I don't know if the whole market's going to that just yet, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good sign for us or a bad one. But but super interesting. But, I think with the cost, all of these different cost increases, you also see some of our clientele become a little more cost conscious and try to take what, disposable income they have and look for the more creative, more unique, more sustainable, uh, ways in which they can spend that money. So where flower beds, like you were talking about, may get dissolved in the future, where they're eating that price twice a year, that might get dissolved and become a perennial bed where it essentially just feeds itself over the course of time, and then you have plants that continue to come back, and you have free blooms over time.
Right.
I think we're going to find more and more stuff like that. As far as things that kind of coming out of that, you've also got more clients that seem to be more interested in things like herb boxes and gardens and things like that. And trying to fit those into an urban setting is not always super easy, but um, it's got to be pretty. It's got to fit the MO of the neighborhood. But it's pretty neat to see us being able to kind of participate in stuff that's not just groupings of boxwoods, little hedges, and kind of more of the same. So I like the variety.
Mhm. Yeah, I think more people have gotten into the urban gardening type stuff. Which vegetables at the grocery store have gotten significantly higher. So I mean,
Yeah.
if you can grow it at home yourself, then
You might as well.
cut costs and spend that money elsewhere, or save it for a rainy day, so be it.
Yeah.
But we are starting to see more and more people doing that type of stuff. So, have the cost of mowers gone up significantly? I mean, I know we haven't. I know you bought some big mowers, like 72s out there at Honda.
Yeah.
What were you paying for those 2-3 years ago? Do you remember?
Well, we've got a great relationship with Michael and his daddy Mike at 3M Carts and Mowers down in Pelham. We've been doing business with those guys for probably the last 20 years. And, I don't know what somebody walking in off the street, first time buying a mower, I don't know how they would, fare with that. But, I think we have purchasing power, by having a long-standing relationship with them, but, uh, everything has still gone up. What we would have bought a 48 or a 60 or a 72, a few years ago while there was still availability, uh, is still, I would say, probably 10 to 15% less than we are now. And obviously that also depends on what the item is. I think some of our smaller 2-cycle equipment has probably increased more percentage wise than like our big mowers have. It might not seem that way because you go get a blower or a weed eater or something like that, and it's still a small amount of money in comparison to a large walk behind or ride on mower. But nevertheless, when you actually kind of take into account the math of it and what it costs to replace, where a larger mower might be 10 to 15% more, you're looking at, in some cases, 20 to 25% increase on your smaller 2-cycle equipment. And you run through that an awful lot faster than you do the larger 4-cycle mowers. So, I'll tell you what's gone up probably as much as anything has, and that's just the repairs, the upkeep of them. And that's kind of a multifaceted problem all by itself. So not only have the wages of our employees who do preventative maintenance on our equipment, that's gone up. So, you know, we're paying more for them to do it. They didn't show up with as many, you know, wrench turning techniques as the generation before them. So more training is required to teach them how do you change oil? How do you change a spark plug? Where is a fuel filter? What is a fuel filter? Where's an air filter? This, that, and the other. So even down to just the, you know, the brass tacks of it is everything has gone up, but the upkeep and the maintenance of it has really increased. If we have to take it to the shop and it has to go in for repairs, they're paying their mechanics more. It takes far longer to get parts and pieces. You know, we need a nut for this, a washer for this, a spring for that. And, you know, it's on a truck somewhere. It's coming. And so just having things available to us, you've got to wait longer. You've got more downtime, more cost associated with that. And so I think really just the upkeep and care of things has probably cost us far more than even the initial purchase.
So when we went, me and Tyler went to go pick up that, it was a 35-gallon drum. It wasn't even a 55-gallon drum, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a 35.
From, Premier. I called one supplier. He called another just so we could obviously get same product, but just be more cost effective and cost conscientious. One vendor was almost double, if not triple, and that's because he didn't say this, but the other supplier said that essentially, I guess it was last year, one plant blew up or caught fire, one of the major plants, which caused glyphosate to increase significantly, almost doubled, if not tripled, and some suppliers still had, I guess, the previous year's batch that they were trying to get rid of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just goes to show you that, you know, stuff's significantly increased for numerous reasons, and it's sometimes it just almost seems like it's ridiculous somehow. Like you almost hurts to even pay that much, but you know you got to have it.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a weird kind of crazy experience that would coincide with this because I mean, what would we, you know, what did we pay for that? I don't exactly remember dollar amount, but
Was like right in the $500 range is the one we got, and then we got some other prices that were over 1,000. So
yeah, so double.
double.
Yeah.
And I get it. You gotta try to get your money back plus some. But I just, like, holy cow, like, it was ridiculous.
And you kind of talked a little bit on availability as far as parts. You know, about a year or so ago, I feel like, you know, plants, parts, everything, you know, you couldn't find. You feel like it's improved some, stay the same, or
Yeah. No, I definitely think it's better than it was. Part availability, whether it's for mowers or tractors or trucks or whatever it is, I think that's significantly increased. There's still the logistical issues of like distribution from this place to that place, and it's like it feels like it's just a stone throw away. You know, we've got 100 of them. They're sitting on a truck in Georgia, and it's like I can be there in 2 hours. I can get what I need. You know, it just doesn't work that way. Or there's something coming out of Tennessee, and it's like, okay, well, so tomorrow, it's like, well, a week from tomorrow. It's like, man, you know, so I think it's still, we're still battling logistical issues, but yet the parts seem to be more readily available, which is a great sign. And, I mean, I don't know what experiences y'all have had so far this year or the last several months with plants, but it seems like plants are for the most part, back on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're hunting for a 48-inch American boxwood, well, you're hunting for the same unicorn a few of our other companies are looking for. But um, unless you're looking for some kind of crazy species or something or a particular size, I think you pretty well go buy what you need now.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I'm sure a lot of that was, last year as far as availability on plants was that freeze that we had. I'm sure there was some
Yeah.
damage at the nursery or the growers, and then, companies buying up bulk to replace it at their customer's property, so
yeah.
it was tough to get just about anything.
Well, and it's funny too. It's little things you don't think about. Like, so the demand of certain things was compounded by, you got to think a lot of people were at home during COVID, working from home or not working at all. And they're at home, watching YouTube videos all day, coming up with DIY projects and stuff like that. They begin to consume a lot of the stock that your retail stores and your open to public nurseries and things like that, they start gobbling up stuff. All the while you have two hard freezes, one right after the other, that compounds availability and less people at the nurseries to care and to prune and to do this. And so it's like you've got essentially what was still the landscape install, force is still pulling lots of stuff out of availability. There's lots of stuff that just simply can't be sold because it's just not up to par. And all the while you have, probably a much larger buying force in, all of these do-it-yourselfers that are working from home and have more flexibility and time on their hands and everything else. And so it was kind of I think last year especially was just kind of a perfect storm for just, there's nothing on the shelf. And so your retail stores were reaching over and getting into our availability so that they can keep stuff on their shelf too. So just a lot of hands in one cookie jar. But no, I think I think we're off to a really good start this spring. It feels good. It certainly feels better outside, but, as far as staff, caliber of people, having you guys, there to help me keep this place going, and, uh, so far 2024 feels pretty good. Got a lot of promising things on the horizon, still other things to combat and deal with, but, pretty excited about what this growing season looks like. So,
Last thing I'd like to touch on is just irrigation. Obviously, with the temperature increase and people being outside, it seems like come April 1, people are hollering about irrigation, wanting to cut it on. When do y'all start typically cutting on y'all's customers' irrigation? I mean, is there a set day, so to speak, in
there's
the
never
farmer's almanac? I mean, what are y'all?
in my opinion, there's never a set date or month or anything like that. I mean, I'm sure there's been times where we've cut systems on in early March, sometimes not until May. Um, right now I haven't, outside of a couple of systems, I haven't started up hardly any year.
Probably where you planted it.
And that's just because of new sod that we've just installed or some new plants. But I mean, like Clint said earlier, I mean, we've still been getting into the 30s, some nights or in the mornings. So I mean, yeah, still have those low nighttime temps and rain once or twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see a need until we get consistently, low 80s, high 7, consistently,
Or just
and warmer nighttime
a
temps.
dry period.
Yeah. I mean, if we go 2 weeks without rain, yeah, we're getting,
As much as we'd like to set a date, so to speak, a hard date, like whether it be April 15th or what have you, it's not feasible.
It's different every year.
Yeah.
No, it's not feasible, and cutting on and cutting off the irrigation system is always probably as big of a decision as what's for dinner. But you get into a place where you've got to think about ground temperature. You've got to think about,
And the product they're putting out too. I mean,
yeah, so ground temperature goes into account. You've got what products are we putting on the ground as far as turf treatments and bed treatments. How much rainfall are we getting? Like you said, from an average of, whether it be a weekly standpoint, I certainly wouldn't gauge it by the month, but per week, how many inches of rain are we getting? What are our low temperatures at night? How much dew are we getting? What type of plant material do you have on the property? Um, at least we know that by the fourth week of April, we're putting flowers in the ground. So, here we are, middle of the second week of April, but we know that whether we like it or not, you've got between now and the time you start installing flowers to get irrigation systems up and running.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really getting them started, auditing them, figuring out what's good, what's bad, what needs to be fixed. All really has to happen in such a small window of time.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to cut them on today? No, I don't think so. I really don't. We're all week this week. We're kind of flirting with 70s. We might see an 80-degree temperature somewhere in Birmingham, but we got a fair amount of rain yesterday. We're going to have more tonight. I don't think it calls for it.
No. And all that extra water, it's not going to make the grass green up any faster.
No,
It's gonna hurt it.
the only thing we're going to have happen is you have these cool, dew heavy nights, multiple days of rain, even if it's a small amount, and then warmer temperatures through the day. All we're doing is, and you're throwing down nitrogen right now.
Mm-hmm.
So all we're creating is just a hotbed for fungal activity.
Mm-hmm. And that's not how you want to start the summer.
No, it's a terrible way to get the season started, because then all of a sudden you go from things are coming out of dormancy, right? Things are looking good. Everything seems healthy, to where you're plagued with brown patch. Your cedar apple rust goes crazy. You've got, spring dead spot here, dollar spot over here, fairy ring over here. And you're basically just setting up mushroom farms everywhere in Mountain Brook. It's like, why? Why? Yeah. So we should write our own farmer's almanac for landscaping.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where you cannot, the second week of April and the fourth week of April are really light years apart, not 14 days apart. And so, for all the things we've talked about, it's like they're worlds apart, even though we're talking about 14 calendar days. There's just so much that has to be done, and so much going on in these small snapshots of time. So, but that's what keeps us busy, and that's job security for this time of year.
I've run across several customers who have already turned on their system. I wasn't aware of it, and it's still on the same setting as it was for last year. Where it's set for 3 days a week and was adjusted appropriate at that time before it was cut off.
Yeah,
Well, then
And then
not to mention, if you have a problem, we expect you to drop everything you're doing.
yeah,
Which
I mean, those
if
zones
you
were
can, you will. But when you're not told about it being cut on,
yeah,
it's like,
all
I
that
can
was
only hope.
done was the knob was
Look
turned to
forward.
run, and don't know if you have a leak or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes it hard too. I love customers who take initiative, but I I love when customers take initiative and they want to include me on it.
Communicate.
Because if they don't, then like you said, you're in a scenario where we were in full blown drought at the end of the growing season last year. So you're shelling water to the property. You're doing that 3, maybe 4 days a week, depending on the property. You're probably at your maximum duration and frequency at that point in time. And, you go over there and just cut it to run. You don't know. First of all, you're giving it way too much. But then on top of that, you don't know what the condition of the system is. So, you know, again, while I love a customer with initiative, just man, tell me about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and water had been, running for 2 weeks, and if there's brown patch out in the yard, or fungus issues here and there, and not aware that the irrigation had been cut on for 2+ weeks.
It just adds to
to the mayhem.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd much rather grass be a little dry, or plants be a little dry, than oversaturated.
No doubt.
Because it doesn't take much to get them some water, but when you create more issues with,
It's hard to get rid of the water.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
What else I got?
I think it pretty well
Yeah.
wraps us up for
Yeah, I appreciate y'all being with us and sticking it out for our first podcast. We'll be doing this once a week.
every week.
Go check us out on obviously YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, all the platforms. Like I said, we're still new to this, so be honest. We'll try to answer as many questions in the comments and whatnot. But understand that for landscapers, and especially this time of year, like we've been talking about, it's very hectic. So we'll do our best.
And any feedback you'll have, anything
Absolutely.
y'all want to hear us talk about, or any questions, feel free to let us know.
So
Yep.
obviously, like and subscribe. It helps us out, and at some point we'll be doing some sort of a giveaway. So like I said, we work close with Xmark and some of our local vendors and whatnot. So hopefully y'all stick it out with us. So we appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.